Hey everyone, a new English set is coming out like tomorrow, and this is going to be for Dimensional Transcendence or set 3. And I'll just be going through, like always, the best decks or like the most updated builds that you can run in English based on tournament results for all the main good new decks that are coming out, or updated decks that are coming out. One thing I'm going to mention is that a lot of these decks are lacking the PR Regulus piece that a lot of decks run. This is for the Vigila order. That one is coming out soon in a trial deck, we assume, but it just means that we have to replace a bunch of the decks that a bunch of the cards in these decks. So they're not going to be like 100% copies, but it's usually just the Regulus piece. Other thing also is that Kothi Blaze really had 0 tops. It had like one. It had like one local top, but then it's unbuildable at the moment simply because there is a promo order that you need four copies of. And I think the deck is just really bad without it. So for us, English Kothi Blaze is going to be a bit of a cope deck. But if you're in JP, you can look at the old build, and it's pretty much that. Anyway, let's kind of get into this deck. This set is pretty interesting, right? There's a lot of, there's Shoujo Doji, basically probably the tier 1 of the entire meta going for the next couple of months, as well as a bunch of other cool decks. So let's get started with the Doji, right? So most of these Doji builds are pretty much the same. They just run 4 of... the whole deck is just stealth, right? And even the PG will be stealth. We have a Weld order. A Weld Original, that's right. Weld Original, that one's a stealth fiend as well, so it works out. But if you need a stealth PG, I think the cheaper option might be just to be getting the Shiranui PGs. Otherwise, the rest of the deck is just pretty much this. The flex slots are literally the Energy Cycler and the and this Kagechika. I've seen people run other cards that they want, like, these just flex slots, literally just flex slots. So you can just replace them with other stuff that you want to run. But the rest of the build is just pretty much what you want here. We did have to replace the Regulus piece that we just ran. I just ran Radiance Caliban. Look, VG Paradox, they have a lot of decks. I just went through the percentage of like what cards being run. The next thing after was the Caliban, so we just ran that. But you can pretty much run any other kind of Regulus piece if you want, or not run any at all. Twin Cast, good. You can even run a 4-bit all just to call that like unprecedented and all that. So pretty nice. Otherwise, this deck it's described as Time Leap. Ideally, you will be just doing mostly 5 attacks, but if you want a hyper combo, you can like do like 7 attacks just through like Kinran plays. You will need a bit of testing just to kind of get your head around it, but I think once you do, you're going to be popping off pretty hard, right? So I'm not going to go too deep into the deck, but yeah, Shoujo Doji has a lot of playability with it, lots of defensive material going with its main effect, where you can kind of pop off getting like some defensive cards. You can put like PGs in the binder and then call it out to get around guard restrict, and you still get naturally a good amount of attacks. And then when you abuse Kinran and Tsukudachi, you can get like more than 5 attacks, but it does require some setup that you'll need to practice with, right? Next deck we have here is a Lukia. There's not that many Lukia decks coming up. There was one that topped Ultimate, and then like another one that topped one of the WGPs. I mainly picked this one simply because this one is running Bibetsu for some extra reach. A lot of decks, for Lukia at least, have been cutting down on Bibetsus. So if you look at the beginning of the meta, a lot of decks are running like 4 Bibetsus. As we approach more recent tops, they're running either like low amounts of Bibetsu or even 0 Bibetsu. So it's really up to you. This deck is kind of weird though. This is running like a really strange ride line. So if you look at this, these aren't really supposed to be ride line materials, but these are cards that you 100% want to be able to play out immediately as soon as possible, and you want to confirm having it. So having it in your ride line means you ride it and it's in your soul, ready to go as soon as possible, right? The rest of the deck is just running things like Bifrons and all that, and yeah, I think it's slightly more teched out than the original build. But for example, if you don't want to run the 1 copy of Scythe Dragon, just put it as another copy of Applause Dragon, right? Make it a 4, and I think that's pretty much it. Things like Carbuncles and all that, yeah. So this is it really, Lukia hasn't really shown too much, but I think on a local level we've seen some top, but nothing too incredibly relevant. Next one is Sacrifice Cast. The only reason why I built this, there was like 1 locals top with this. This deck kind of just dies to Shoujo Doji, really. It's an interesting deck. one local stop. The good thing about this deck was that it's 100% buildable in English. There's no PG that we're missing or anything like that. It's a fun deck, but I don't really think it'll go anywhere. This card is probably the most important card of the, or most expensive card of the deck, you know, Folklore. So if you do buy it, you know, at least you can put this in basically other things too. So yeah, nice. I personally really like this deck, but it's not going to be seen much at all. Again, all the deck logs as well will be in the description. Medallion as well, showing some tops. There has been some funny builds regarding this where they run like a bunch of Keta stuff to try and restand this Obstigate multiple times, right? But that, I think I saw that at a local level like once, and then after that never saw it again. This one did, this Medallion deck did top Nagoya. I think this was one of the first few tournaments in the entire season, and then it kind of honestly just dropped out. But you do see this pop up quite a few times at the local level, so you'll see it in like things like top decks. The deck itself is pretty not that expensive. The most expensive card will probably be the Sergion, which you could probably just replace it with something else if you really don't want to spend the money. The rest of it is just obviously pretty just all undercover stuff, very cheap to build, and I think it's just like a nice tier 3 deck, right? It's definitely not the top deck of the format or of all the newly released stuff, but it's definitely not at the bottom. So you can give it a try. Next is the Mythak. So this one I didn't feature before because it wasn't a new deck, but we did see it creep around a bit, right? So again, Nagoya. Right now, I think you have to understand the format has a lot of third decks, and these third decks can just literally be anything that is anything like half decent, right? Because once again, Japan does do their diversity cut, so they do have a lot of weird decks showing up, but that kind of also means that some of these decks can at least do okay. Why is Mythak doing better? Well, they released some new support for it. That kind of helps it out. If you see some of these card techs, they're really crazy now. Big blocks of card techs. This one is just, it's like a guard restrict, so it's a bit more annoying for your opponent to guard. You also have a new grade 1. This one lets you get some advantage, which is really nice. And then you also, I think this one counts as 2, right? When you count it for things. But most importantly, you got a PR, right? So if you have this one, the Mythak, I don't even know what a Mythak is, but this one's like doesn't look like a Mythak at all, right? But yeah, she is just a restander. It's like she gives you 4 attacks. So now that Mythak has 4 attacks, it is half decent. It is already better than everything before. So ideally, your front row would just be her to make the 4th attack, and then your other attack would just be a guard restrict, and then you have a Vanguard that is really annoying to guard because it's a Vanguard. So yeah, that's pretty much that. It's topped Nagoya and then something else like more than once, and then at the local level has been popping up a lot of times, and set 3 was released. So yeah, it has at least some potential there. Okay. Next we have is the Stja. So I think, did I say it correctly? It's Stja. Okay. Yeah. This one actually, Stja actually has seen more tops than, I think this is out of set 3. This is probably either the 2nd or 3rd best deck, I want to say. Maybe even 4th. If it really depends where you rate like the last 2, which you're going to see very soon. This one is pretty nice in that it just has these what is it? Principle? Is it they call it principles? I swear they called it something else, but because it was more religious that way, they obviously translate differently. It makes it really annoying for your opponent. So this one just gives it gets created and call stuff. This helps you set up and make pressure. This scripture, this principle, makes your opponent cry because it minuses their drive, minuses their power. So it's like a kind of a slow, more defensive orientated deck. So yeah, pretty cool. It makes I think it makes 5 attacks. I'm pretty sure it makes 5 attacks, right? It's just choose. You stand for each like codex or so. It's a codex. Is it codex? Yeah. If you play 2, you can make 5 attacks. And then you also have some good stuff like this pink girl. This is going to be insanely priced. If you're a Stoicaea player, make sure to grab this. This pretty much fits in everything. But it just lets you call grade 1s and other things that are in the deck. You have like prize tridents to kind of countercharge and make soul. Only running 2. I know like I think this was teched in the decks ever since pretty much the beginning, I guess, of I think what was this? It was Ultimate in Hiroshima, but ever since this came out on the scene, we've been seeing this pop up a lot. And then you have like You have the Dual Nation, Sephira, right? Sephira to get back your orders that you need. You know, codexes, and if you otherwise, you can also call out things to just attack with as well. And then I think these other two are just cards that let you grab codexes. So yeah, you look at top 7, grab a codex, and it gets power, so that works out pretty well. And this one also grabs codexes as well. So everything just codexes, replenish resources, get codexes, and energy cycle. That's pretty much all it is. And yeah, no, because it just makes 5 attacks, it sets up the board okay. It annoys your opponent heavily. This has been seeing quite decent play. Quite decent play, and it's definitely one of the more higher decks up there. So if you're into that kind of play style, you finally have access to it. That's me. That's me. Next we have is the Archive. So I think this was hyped up quite a bit before. I think this, again, this is like a top 5 deck. Well, I'm only showing 8 decks in the set 3. I guess the top half. This is definitely like in the top half. This is from Hiroshima as well. A lot of these decks, the flex slot is basically just either Trigant and the Slasher. So I've seen people run like some different builds. This just helps you get orders. It helps you get your more of your monster research, right? Torrential energy research, so you can kind of max out that pretty quickly. And then this is just some extra power, right? Extra power. The rest of the build is pretty much set in stone because you just need to run this for, it has good power, and then you draw a card. Just nice advantage. This one lets you recycle your Persona Rides every single turn. You need 4 of the monster PGs. You Purple Mine, you definitely need 4x. And then you have 4 of this grade 1 because it can get power. It gets power, but then like you can also just grab it like just when you discard, you just free card. So yeah, pretty much all these monsters very, very good. And I don't think I mentioned this one, but yeah, Raverus. This guy, yeah, it's pretty annoying for your opponent. Can't be chosen by opponent's card effects. You minus the power, then you get a bunch of power increase. So lots of pressure from this one card alone. That's why you're on 4, and it's a monster. So yeah, pretty cool. And then the last deck is Dimension Player. I think this is like either the 2nd or 3rd deck on the coming out of this set. Very, very strong. It's just you get to Superior right up pretty consistently because you just need to basically draw like one copy of this in your opening hand, and you're good to go. And there's different ways to kind of grab it. But yeah, you're pretty much confirmed to Superior right up. And then you also you always have like 4 attacks because your Vanguard restands. You get to pump a bunch of power, and then you have a pseudo divine skill once per game kind of thing where you can get a drive check on your 2nd attack. But yeah, a lot of the just depot cards overall, and then you have this one Dual Nation to kind of put cards into Soul and then just grab things that you need, which is pretty nice. And then this one is just a Galactic B-Hero Bobelmine, but because you play bases too, because your depot, this card is also a base, right? This the B-Hero support that relies on bases also works. It's like a Bumblebee that gets like extra 2k, right? That's pretty crazy. And then the Balderade is just a really good card. It's a really good card. So run the 4x of this. And that is pretty much all the decks. This was Fukuoka, right? This is top in Fukuoka. So most of the builds look like this. I think some of the flex slots are just like cutting out some of these Dimension Police, Depol stuff. You can change some of the Dual Nation and the Balderade. And that's pretty much it, right? That's pretty much the main changes. Again, with the Blitz order situation, you run 4x of normal orders, just because this card is insane, especially for a deck that will be resting their bases a lot. So this is just like X 10,000 shield power, right? So that's pretty much all the good decks coming out from this. Again, no Kothi Blaze, right? I just think it's really unplayable right now. In terms of the top decks coming from this set, it will be Shoujo Doji as a clear first, and then you have like D-Pulse to Haraja, and then Archite as your main kind of competitive, like at least semi-competitive decks, and the rest are still okay. Probably the bottom being Sacrifice Class. That's just not... It's a fun deck. It's not a good deck. Yeah, for now. It might get like 2 PRs and then becomes like tier 1. That's it for me. Let me know in the comments what you think. I hope this is a good base for you to start building your decks, and then maybe, you know, tweak it to your liking or to our meta, because our meta sometimes is different, right? And that's it, right? Let me know, guys, what you think, and I'll see you all next time on Top Decks. Peace. Bye.